Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com, and what I want to do is just record my thoughts on the 2020 election. I think the 2020 election brings us down to another very sort of interesting set of choices. So kind of like in 2016, you had a choice between an establishment Democrat and Donald Trump. And essentially, it became a very divisive election because, even if you are a conservative, Donald Trump didn't kind of hold the kind of character that you would want in sort of your standard bearer. And then Hillary Clinton wasn't someone that was very particularly exciting. So while the idea of the first female president was an exciting idea, or, on paper, Hillary Clinton had a lot of baggage. A lot of unpopular policies that she was involved with in the past, and not necessarily a high level of trust. So you have these two very unliked candidates for most of the voting populace. So while Donald Trump has a very dedicated following that's grown since, the majority of the electorate still kind of wanted another option. And there was definitely room for sort of third parties to grab a larger share of the vote for those really disenfranchised voters. That was, and I think at the time, on paper, considering the sort of the big issue was sort of a trust and experience gap. So with Donald Trump, neither candidate you could really trust, and one candidate really lacked sort of experience, despite being an outsider. Their lack of experience was a real issue. So Gary Johnson and Bill Weld as a ticket kind of offered, something that the other tickets didn't offer: executive experience that has a sort of independent streak. Okay, that's what you can say about both of them. So while I know people will criticize how well Gary Johnson and Bill Weld were the standard bearer for the Libertarian message on certain issues, at the end of the day, they did have a very independent streak, which coincides with sort of the essence of Libertarian in the sense of oftentimes, reducing taxes and being skeptical of government this and government that, even if it doesn't necessarily always go far enough as people would have liked. They still represented this sort of more, higher level of integrity, higher level of character, higher level of experience, qualities that were sort of not really on the table of the other offerings. But usually, the way these kind of elections go, at the end, people get scared because the way these kind of majoritarian elections work is that you just have to convince 51% of the population to hate the other 49 or to fear the other 49%. This is why this sort of way of conducting democracy is particularly divisive, because if you just have to be less unacceptable than the other person to win, because that's just the way the game is played, because it's majority wins, then you're always going to get with these divisive campaigns, and people at the last minute are always just going to kind of buckle and vote for the lesser of evils. This is why I'm definitely very big on electoral reforms and the idea of either, ranked choice voting or approval voting. I think these kind of electoral systems will certainly change the social dynamic, okay? Being negative towards your opponent suddenly becomes a huge bad thing to do because you want to be someone's second choice. While Trump could care less if, diehard Hillary supporters liked him and vice versa. And that's so basically you aren't served in a majority wins all or highest vote getter wins type voting system. You're not necessarily rewarded for having a uniting message. Okay, because a uniting message isn't always going to be sort of the most tailored message to particular voting segments. So someone else can then just tailor their message to a coalition of some sort. And win. And that's kind of what happened. It is possible to win on that. I would say my win as vice chair, where I ran very strongly on the whole idea of, kindness, unity, whatnot, was a signal that is a thing that some people may want, and that can be a winning message. And I'm not that Biden knows who I am or his team knows who I am, but I do see a lot of similarities in the way Biden's running his campaign right now, where it's less about specifics and more about sort of this general sentiment that has been lacking of positivity, of a America that is in this together, camaraderie. But the problem is, like, Biden is just a problematic candidate. As far as if you take a look at his past, the types of policies he's promoted. Trump's also a very troubling candidate, as we've seen in practice the last 4 years. Then we got George Jorgensen, and George Jorgensen's awesome. I'm very excited for the Joe Jorgensen Spike Cohen ticket, because they're both really great candidates that speak to very different audiences. Joe Jorgensen, being an academic, oftentimes can speak in that sort of very intellectual manner that will appeal to, especially to a lot of a lot of moderates who may prefer more nuanced conversation, a more calm demeanor, more calmer messaging style. So really kind of capture sort of that left and right of center type of audience with her particular message, which is very strong on the actual substance of what libertarians want. And then Spike can speak in a sort of very bold, very passionate, very exciting way that helps reach to more the activist bases on the right and the left. And that's what makes me really excited about this ticket. You have both flavors. You have someone who can speak to the activist and someone who can speak to the everyday person. And I think that stands to sort of the level of energy that's been going towards the campaign, and the level of momentum it's getting. I'm not, it's not necessarily getting the same kind of press that Gary Johnson got in 2016, but generally when I hear people talk about the Jorgensen campaign, it's generally positive. There isn't as much division among the libertarians at the base or at the center, like at any level, about whether this ticket's a good ticket to support. Everyone feels comfortable supporting this ticket, which means we can all actually focus on campaigning instead of fighting each other. And that's a really good thing. And I think that is paying dividends. I think this kind of shows that there is a benefit to sort of the way the Libertarian Party selects its candidates, where, it's a separate election for vice president versus president, because the result we have is, again, a nice mix that wouldn't have been initially expected, that works out, I think, better than expected. Now, of course, people are complaining about a photo of this or a tweet of that, but I would just say the vast majority of libertarians, and then also it's a ticket that I think reaches beyond the typical voter sets, because it's not just like this. And I do think there's something about like who the messenger is going to affect who the messenger is, and how their message is framed is going to reflect who's going to hear. That's why you need a lot of messengers and a lot of messages. And I do think Joe Jorgensen and Spike Cohen are going to be able to reach groups that we weren't able to reach another with other tickets, because their messages are different and them as a messenger are different in not a substantive ways. I'm not going to sit there and list all of them, but I do anticipate this will be a good year membership wise as the campaign develops. So that's pretty exciting. So overall, I'm feeling very optimistic now. Do I think we're going to get 51% and have a Libertarian Party president? The odds aren't necessarily in the favor of that happening. Would be cool. I'm definitely going to try to see if I can make that happen. But I do think that this is going to be a year where, despite all the challenges and divisions within the party the first half of the year, the campaign will serve as a lightning rod for uniting the party and bringing new people to the party in a greater fashion. I think this will be a great year for growth in party membership and also growth of the message in reach. Okay, and again, it may translate into a higher vote total. It's possible. I can see that on the table actually beating the 2016 vote total, but I don't think that necessarily will signify the actual growth in the movement that will occur from the campaign. So I think in regards to the numbers I'm looking at are going to be more like membership totals, numbers of volunteers, and when I take a look at that and the effort that people are putting in with great challenges to ballot access this year, people are overcoming and people are putting in a lot of hours because they feel very comfortable with this ticket, and that is a great sign. So overall, I feel pretty cool about 2020 and the Jorgensen Cohen ticket. It's a good ticket. Vote for him. And also, it's a ticket you can vote for, and you know that even if you don't agree with him on every issue, I do, but even if you didn't, you're voting for two good people who, if they were in office, are going to try to do the right thing. You may not agree with, like, again, every libertarian view and policy, but these are people who are going to sit there and just force feed, libertarianism down your throat from day one. They're going to definitely push for bold libertarian actions in office, but they're going to also be compassionate in the way they do so, be empathetic, and focus on sort of what steps can occur first. It's going to improve the most people's lives. They're truly sort of humanitarian voices, and that's good. That's very good and very exciting. So overall, I'm feeling very positive about what we have to look forward to in 2020 as far as supporting the Libertarian Party ticket for president and vice president. So you guys have a great day. My name is Alex Merced. Have a great day and enjoy. And then go head over to joe20.com or joe2020.com. Always forget the exact URL. And go volunteer. Go make a donation. It's a ticket worth supporting. So I'll talk to you guys later.